for joining us today for episode 21 of the Survive and Thrive Challenge. I'm Laura Brandao, the president of AFR, and we are here to open our hearts and our minds as we share our personal and professional journeys as we have adapted to our new world. On today's show, from California, we have Deborah Mansfield. She is the regional account executive at Cardinal Financial. From beautiful Florida with the palm trees here, we have Kim Lanham. She is the VP of Client Services at Digital Risk. And from Texas, we have Chris Griffith, the president of Vetted VA and the broker owner of Debt Does Deals. I am so excited for this episode. And first up, we have Deb. Okay, Deb, take us back. Here we are. We're in March. We're in the middle of March. Craziness is happening everywhere. We're watching the news. We're hearing of change. The mortgage industry, rates going everywhere, programs changing. Take us back and tell us what was happening in your world.
It was kind of fun to go back. So March, I was hearing some let's not travel, let's be more careful, but I was so focused and so busy, it was kind of noise behind me, right? So I wasn't running to Costco, I wasn't stocking up on anything. I was just, head down, head on the prize and working. And then we had a call. And on March 9th, I want to say March 8th or 9th, out of the blue to me, maybe others were more engaged, but out of the blue to me, we were restructuring. We didn't know what that meant just yet, but the company was going to restructure and more news to follow. So no problem, head back down, talking to brokers, busy time, grateful, happy. Then on the 13th, just 4 business days later, we were told to stop originating.
Oh.
So that kind of got my
attention.
So as an AE, that's a little challenging. So, but it was presented very positively with a very, this is probably temporary. Let's just get our wits around us, figure out what we're dealing with, have time with your family, we'll regroup. And so I'm like, okay, so Ethan, my 16-year-old, still at school. Everything's pretty normal. I decide I'm going to take that week and do the things we never have time to do, right?
Yep.
So on the 20th, just 10 days later, California locked down. My son, I'm told to go get him from baseball practice because effective immediately, no more school, no more sports. So then a little bit anxiety, right? So, okay, all right, well, let's just go get our arms around everybody. I also have an exchange student from Spain who was here studying from UCSD. And so we made accommodations to go get him and bring him closer because he was no longer allowed to be in the dorms. And all of this within like 48 hours, right? So I was trying to go back and I'm getting anxious just thinking.
I'm getting anxious listening to it. Wow.
I don't want to give anything away, but it all works out. But okay. So we go get Pablo from San Diego. Ethan no longer has school or baseball. And then on the 24th, I actually get an email from our employer and we've closed, everybody's furloughed. So in like 10 business days, obviously, life has changed. And like always, I'm older. I've been doing this since 93. You focus on the positive. You take a few minutes to catch your breath and you don't panic, right? So we went and got our toilet paper and our water and our hand sanitizer. And I didn't want my 16-year-old to feel any anxiety. I wanted to keep things as normal as possible because my gut told me in the next couple of weeks, things would change and everything was going to work out. So we did some fun things here as a family. We did lots of cooking together. I call it the COVID-15 that I'm now working on, right? So,
we've heard that a lot.
Other people were smart and went the other way. I wish I'd been so disciplined. But so anyhow, Pablo was able to stay here from Spain. There actually was going to be, he was told at first he'd have to go home. So Pablo was able to stay here. Ethan went immediately to online distance learning. And because he's in high school, that's pretty easy for me. I feel for parents that have little guys. So that all worked out. We just made their rooms really cool and upgraded their desks and kind of made it fun. And I immediately got on LinkedIn and started sending resumes out. And because I am fortunate and I love our business, you can work in so many capacities as long as you work hard and treat people well. Mm-hmm. So I was very grateful. I was out of work like 72 hours, right?
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
It was really, really nice because also during this, like a lot of other people, if you don't have a job, you don't have benefits. So now you're in a pandemic, so very grateful, very blessed. We pretty much regrouped quickly as a family. And so we started thinking about how blessed we were, that there was a lot of havoc around us, right? There was a lot of people who didn't rebound as quickly and had some really serious challenges, right? And even just being locked down, we live in a community that has a lot of older people, mm-hmm. and they couldn't really go out comfortably. So my son's a good kid. I don't know, I take a lot of credit for
I wonder why, Deb. I don't know why he would be.
My husband's a good guy too, so I'll give him half the credit. But anyhow, he and his friends, I think, to be busy and physical and kind of get out of their own heads, right? There was a florist here that could no longer do big events. And so they were really going to rototill all these beautiful, gorgeous flowers, Gerber daisies. Also, anyhow, he and a bunch of his football buddies, they took it upon themselves to go deliver flowers all over the Central Coast, just drop them on people's. They went to a lot of the older facilities where older people live and are lonely, but there's also communities that's kind of the norm. So they did that. We did a lot of baking and dropping them off at friends' house because you couldn't see them, but you wanted them to know that you were thinking of, So we tried to, that's fun for us. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys that if you can get out of your own head and count your blessings, if you can go help somebody else, it really is more selfish than it seems. So it felt good to help. And so we did that. And then professionally, I just jumped in helping brokers. The COVID overlays were crazy. The volume was crazy. Some people weren't ready to work remotely on a dime. I was fortunate. I've done that for years. So it was fun. It was like being with family and kind of getting through it together, kind of like yourself and Kim were talking about. So I just kind of felt like I was helping brothers and sisters, and we were going to figure it out together. Some needed help with technology. Some just needed help with pure volume. So I think the COVID overlays, and like myself, I was with an investor that went away from the market. Some of these brokers needed to help place loans. Yeah. I even placed them, I didn't care, with competition, whatever, right? We all just worked together to get stuff closed, help the borrower out. And so I think it started kind of scary for a short time, but professionally and personally, I've been really blessed. And I got into this business by accident, but once again, I'm so grateful it's where I landed.
Deb, I think everyone got into it by accident. We all did.
You never plan it. So rates are amazing. People are getting beautiful homes. Brokers are doing well. Like in a lot of ways, it's a good time. It gave me a chance to reflect and get more organized, quite frankly. I've never been very diligent about a CRM or any true, when I left that company, it wasn't their fault, but I wasn't prepared to leave. So there was a lot of stuff I hadn't saved.
Right.
So that won't happen again. So,
you learned. That was great.
I learned.
So Deb, your son and the foreign exchange student, what was the initial reaction? I mean, I know you had mentioned you tried to keep everything kind of, okay, everything's fine, we're good here. Yeah. But was there, a bit of unknown, a bit of anxiety from them in terms of what's going to happen, and how did you keep them calm? Like was it that you kept them busy? What did you do?
Yeah. I think my son's a student athlete. He plays 3 sports and they often overlap. So this was a kid who had way too much time on his hands.
Right.
And so I really did try to lead by example I always tell him, look for the helpers, right? Well, in this case, you actually wanted to be a helper, right? And so I was proud of him. He's had the same group of friends. So he found a way to be busy. He opened up a business and he started detailing cars. So
that's
a lot of people,
awesome.
you can't go to car washes anymore. You can't, right? Yep. So I tried to keep him busy that way. The online schooling, as hard as the teachers tried, it was fine, but it was only a couple hours a day, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So he also found a virtual trainer. It did open up some entrepreneurial opportunities. So he did start training with a gentleman who took the opportunity. His gym closed. So he opened it up for like $20 a month, something very reasonable. And he would work out with these student athletes.
Look at that.
Kept him busy. So yeah, I tried to keep him busy, and it may have been a mistake, but I also did not let him know I'd been laid off because I didn't want a 16-year-old to worry about that stuff. And I was quite certain it would be a non-issue. So I did tell him later.
That's okay. You were being mom, and you gave him the information he needed at that time.
You go into mom mode, you know. And then
that's right.
A CASA. I don't know if you know what CASA is, but I have 2 foster kids.
Oh.
You're an advocate for foster kids. You go to court with them. You help them study. You help, and they're at risk, right? They don't have a helicopter mom like my Ethan does, right? So that was an adjustment as well. But they're resilient. They were positive. That's how I learned Zoom. I got much more proficient on the videos. I can show you some stuff that would be really embarrassing, but the kids loved it. Dancing with puppies and so. But just try myself.
I don't know, Deb. I know we're going to get to the thrive part, but your survive part sounds pretty good. I don't know. I'm like, she's dancing with puppies. She's opening. They've got businesses happening, flowers being delivered. I'm like joyous for you at the moment. I don't know. This is the survive part.
If I was in college, it'd be different. But when you have kids at home, you figure it out.
You know? And you've done amazing. You've done absolutely amazing. All right. We're moving over to Kim over here, and we're all jealous in her palm trees and sunshine over here in Florida. All right, Kim, take us back. Take us back to March. Give us, and I know there's some personal information that you had some behind the scenes. So please tell us.
So many of you had just come off of a big conference. I had come from the MBA Midwinter Conference. And, at the conference, we weren't really joking about it, but, everybody was kind of like, I think I'll still shake your hand. I think I'll still give you a hug. I'm not sure about this elbow bump thing here, maybe this ankle thing. So we were, it just kind of was not real. It really just was kind of like this weird thing that was happening, but we were seeing volumes going through the roof. So there was a lot of conversations about production and volume and what the economy is going to look like. And we had kind of this 2-tier economic outlook of like, what happens if COVID hits? What happens if it doesn't? And so it was really quite interesting coming back. I swear, I don't think the plane that I was on has ever been cleaner because everybody had their own handy wipes. We were all wiping each other's down. We were all sharing. I mean, we were all cleaning for each other. Got home. And my husband is the command senior leader for the Florida National Guard. So we really had, it's the adjutant general, and then my husband's responsible for all of the enlisted, for all of the air and the Army and the National Guard. So of course there's briefings happening. Florida doesn't really want to shut down. We're such a tourism state. It's going to affect us so dramatically with tourism. So, but I could hear I could hear the daily calls that were going on with him. And the thing that he told me, I think that probably made me the most anxious was, if schools close, they will not open till next year. And this is March. And I'm thinking, we got 3 more months of school. And he said, I'm telling you right now, if schools close, you're done. So I started relaying information back to our, executive management team saying, we need to get ahead of this now. We've got a lot of single moms. We've got a lot of parents. We have to figure this out, because if they're done for the whole time. We got to figure out how to turn on a dime. So we very quickly, and then we're in a very regulated space because we're a vendor. We're all of the loans that we originate are under SAFE Act. So we were thinking, how do we get around all these regulations? What are we going to do about how do we send these people home? There's not licensing for work from home. It's a big regulatory issue. Our clients are large top 5 banks. They're telling us this is essential services. You have to stay in your office. Well, that's great. You have to stay in your office, but I got moms at home that have little kids, so we made the decision pretty quickly, got all of our clients signed off, got everybody bought in, and we moved about 1,200 people home in about 4 days.
Whoa.
Because we are not your traditional work from home environment. We have facilities in Jacksonville, Maitland, Lake Mary, Boca Raton, there's all in Florida, and a big facility in Dallas. So the 99% of our workforce is in the office. And then we have 2 facilities in India. And so we said we got to get everybody in the US home, and then pretty much our 2 facilities in India shut down also. And India went into very tight lockdowns. But for me in Florida and where we lived, I traveled 50 to 60% of the time anyway. I'm remote. So it wasn't a big shocker, like I have to now be home, but it was a big shocker to not have to travel. And half of my time and my, kind of what I do is on the road. And so how do I all of a sudden pivot when I'm used to being and walking the halls and talking to people and being at conferences and industry relations? And all of a sudden I have all this time on my hands. And what do I do? And Florida, we went down, but we went down much slower. And it came to be almost like the surreal bubble of, almost like Stedford, neighborhood where my life hadn't changed. Our industry is going crazy. We're busy. My husband's in the military, so there's no chance of any, there's total job security there. We live on post, a very small post. And our lives hadn't changed other than my son is now home with me. Mm-hmm. And luckily, my husband went to the office every day because his office is literally 3 houses down. So he walked to the office every day. And there was nobody else in there. But that gave us the space, I think, that we needed to adjust, because I think the 3 of us in the house would have gone nuts. But all of a sudden I'm living in this bubble. There's nobody outside. I live in downtown St. Augustine, one of the largest tourist areas, and besides Orlando, right in Florida. Nobody. It's quiet. Everything is now shut down. But I think what killed me, what was like the knife in the heart, dagger, was they shut my beach down. And that is my daily ritual. I was on the beach every morning, walked the beach for an hour. Like, that's how I grounded myself every morning. That's how I, remained calm, the waves, there was nobody ever out there, the nature. And when they shut that down, it was hard. I really went into a little bit of a depression because and walking in the neighborhood just didn't do it for me. I needed the waves and the ocean. So that was hard. And then, as you said, they couldn't quite figure school out. And my son goes to private school, so I was paying for the privilege of teaching him, trying to figure this whole thing out. And he was done by 9:30 every morning, because they just really couldn't quite figure it all out. So we got very proficient at tennis. We started playing tennis every day together. And he would sometimes go on his walks with me. We did lots of bike rides, but I'll wait till my lessons learned. And then, kind of living with this. Now my husband's got to travel. He's going to all these testing sites. He's setting up the testing sites. He's traveling, checking in with soldiers. And so every time, my husband slept on the couch, I think, for 2 months because he could, that was the closest to quarantining that he could get. But luckily nobody's tested positive, but it was a very, just this kind of, is this really happening? How am I adjusting? I'm very creative. I do a lot with our marketing, PR. So I turned kind of inward and started a mask business. So I started making masks and selling them on Etsy. And that was a big, my husband's like, don't waste your time. It's never going to go to masks. I'm like, no, I got to do something. I got to keep my hands busy, sort of making masks. And so that kind of kept me busy. But also now in our world, everybody's home and I'm getting calls every single day. I need underwriters. I need underwriters. I need underwriters. And we just, so trying to fulfill the demand. And as we talked about, trying to get younger people into this industry and getting them educated and ramped up to be the 20-year tenured, hardcore. I hand underwrote everything. I never, I had paper files here, right?
We have faith in you, Kim. We know you'll figure that out. We know it. All right. Okay. Chris, I know where you were at the beginning of March because we were at the same conference together. So I know that part. So take us back What happens by the time you come back?
Honestly, here's how it went for us. A couple years back, we started homeschooling, and I say we, claiming a lot of benefit that my wife creates. But she chose to homeschool several years back. We chose to create businesses from home after spending a bunch of time in the military. Kim, you know, and anyone in that life knows, you give up time, and in a way that it just doesn't come back. And so homeschool, starting businesses from home. And my biggest dilemma to not be there was travel, right? So COVID hit and we went, it's Tuesday. What do you want to do? I mean, honestly, it really, for us, the biggest difficulties were the things it created within the community: groceries, toilet paper. Like, I have 3 daughters. Come on, America. Come on. Like, so what did I do? I went to Sam's and I bought the marathon rolls, the John Wayne paper, right? Won't take nothing off nobody anyway. Bought that whole roll, and I keep it in a different bathroom at least, so I prepared around it. But we had those little type problems. We were already on top of each other through the house. We were set up to do that. But it did create some difficulty in that we didn't go out anywhere as much. And so the cabin fever thing is a real thing, right? Like,
Groundhog Day.
Everybody deserves a break from dad in this household, right? Like, and I know it, they know it, and we're okay with it, but you have to have that too. And so whenever it got to the point where we were just all congested here at the house, it didn't offer that. And you're about to hear them getting home. They've been gone since Sunday. But they got some time away, and I've basically worked until my phone hit my face, which is kind of what we were doing back then. So personally, it didn't have a huge impact to us outside of the everyday conveniences, right? And how it maybe shifted our economic interaction, right? We went a lot more digital, getting stuff delivered at Amazon, those types of things. But we also started looking pretty hard for local, smaller businesses, entrepreneurs that were doing things and needing things. And we, whether it was getting food from them because they're doing some neat stuff, right? They're cooking prepared meals and selling them, which were great because I'm lazy, you know, like 11, 10, and 5, it's busy. My wife doesn't have time to cook after she's my CFO and like all of these other things. But yeah, personally, it was harder because we lost my grandma, right, during kind of all of that in the beginning after I got back from Irvine. She'd been having some difficulty for a while, but we didn't get to have a funeral or celebration of life, right? She's been cremated, and we're doing our own celebration here soon. But so that was those types of mental impacts to the way that they kind of stovepipe societal interactions. That was, I think, a lot harder on everybody than maybe we all even realized yet. So that part was hard, at least.
Yeah. How are the girls like, how much do they understand what's happening?
Nothing. You know, absolutely understand.
Okay. Okay, that's all right.
No, I mean, they get it. We talk about everything.
Nothing changed because nothing really changed. Right?
Just like this, yes.
Right.
And so we talk about it. We don't watch a ton of news, but for them, it didn't change their routine at all. Like, we couldn't do certain things, and they didn't get it right off the bat. But for the most part, they came around. Our youngest daughter, Josie, she was considered high risk because she has some rare blood condition. A couple of viruses, 2-3 viruses, and coronavirus, they're not sure, but it could be one. And some other things can cause her body to attack its own red blood cells, lysome, and then she has to be transfused. So we were, just like everybody else in the beginning, I would say, cautiously fearful. We're not driven by like fear-based reasoning because there's a lot of problems in that people don't see. But we were exceptionally cautious in the beginning, and then after it kind of went further. Now, like an 8-year-old with a fireplace.
Yes. Yep.
You know, it's like if I'm going to get it, I'd rather get it in the summer at this point.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Wow. Okay. How diverse these stories are, right? Isn't that great? That's why I love doing this, because you get to hear all these different perspectives. It's awesome. All right, Deb, now we're going into the lessons learned. So tell us, now you're all these weeks later. Like I said, I think you're already thriving as she was telling those stories. So tell us, what are some things that you've learned that I always say, if the magic wand comes out, and everything goes back to exactly the way it was, in 2019. Let's go back even to last year. What would you keep the same that you've learned that you really want to see continue?
I think one of the lessons I learned, we're always go, 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 right? We do Laker games, Cowboy games, go, 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 go. I always feel like I have to fit in all these memories, right? And the truth is, the best ones are here at home. And I've learned that my son needs very little in addition to just our time, right? So I really think and it sounds silly and hallmarky.
No, it doesn't.
But I've actually learned it really doesn't take a bunch of money to really have great times and build memories with your kids. And I hope I retain that because I really enjoyed getting to know him when we're not all busy. So, and I also think Chris kind of touched on this. During COVID at the very beginning, I lost a dear, dear friend to cancer. And the isolation part of that is very difficult. Her family hasn't yet had services, like all of, I hope I will never feel burdened by making every birthday party, by making every invite to a coffee, by making every, all of those. We can be busy with the stuff that doesn't matter, and now we're tired and we don't go to the stuff that does. So I hope I always retain that. I'm having coffee with friends way more often than I ever have, right? But out at the beach and social, but time is a gift. And I know that sounds corny as well, but time with your family, time with people you haven't even yet met, if you'll actually sit and take the time to listen, which I'm now better at. I think I'm a better friend. I'm actually hearing people instead of 3 steps ahead to what I want to do next. So I hope I just kind of keep those things. And I'm very grateful for this job. I'm very grateful. And I hope that, I think I've always been grateful, but now I realize we really pull together as a family. I have just amazing brokers who I tried to help them. They tried to help me. It was like, I'm moving forward a little more grounded, a little more grateful, and more simple.
I love all of that. I love all of that.
Yep.
And I will tell you a couple of things that I've said a couple times on this show already. One week we had a cancer survivor, and she's told this story that I think I've said it every week since I heard it. She said one time when she was going through chemotherapy, a nurse said to her, "Don't let cancer be in vain. Learn your lessons of what you went through and what you will change in your life going forward." And I feel COVID has done that for all of us.
Yes.
So let's not have COVID be in vain, because we need to learn that.
That's right.
And the second thing is, I am so proud of our industry.
Yeah.
How we all came together, how we all just said, we have to make this happen because there's lots of families that need help. And we all came together to do that during these crazy volume and rates and everything else. So you're right. Those are things that we've learned, that I don't even look at people as competitors or different anymore. It's not like that. You just don't even think about it. It's just, there's so much business and there's so many opportunities for us, so families, to help. It's just, let's just get it done, right? And make it happen. So it's lovely. Thank you, Deb. All right, Kim, what did you learn?
So just going back on what you said, really, it's also really nice when we can be the heroes and we aren't the cause of the crisis, right? In 2000, right? It's like, hey, we didn't cause this, but we can help. Like that really, I think that also cleared the way for a lot of competition and people really feeling this was not our fault, this was your fault. We can come together and really, as an industry, help everybody who was affected by it. So I think that's great. I think that, a lot of what you said are lessons that I've learned. And, collectively, we've had a collective crisis. There hasn't been a collective crisis in our century, right? You go back, you look at World War I, World War II, but this is our collective crisis. And then you have a crisis or a life quake, as I like to call it, like cancer or something like that. You strip out all the things that serve you no more. And I agree. So I think that we as a global community need to strip out all the things that don't serve us. And I think this happened because the universe or whatever you believe in was saying, you are too busy. You are not slowing down. You're missing you're missing the force of the train.
You're missing life.
You're missing life. You're missing it. And things happen for a reason. And I could not be more grateful for the time with my son. He's my only child. So I just cherish every minute. And I learned that I need change. I need to not have that groundhog effect. So I have learned, hey, I skip the coasts. I go to Tampa to my parents' house. I go to St. Pete. I go up to the Gulf Coast, and now it's great. Plug and play. You got a computer, you got a phone, you can do whatever you need. But just that simple change of scenery, again, taking the breath, of being present in where I am and really what I'm seeing. And then the last thing I will tell you is my grandmother celebrated her 101st birthday, July 22nd. And we went, and she still drives. She drove herself to the beauty salon that morning. And I asked her, we went over there, and they live in St. Pete. And I said, do you want to go out to dinner? Are you okay to go out to dinner for your birthday? And she said, I do not live my life in fear. And that's the message. Be present and don't live in fear. Strip the things that don't serve you and go forth and conquer.
Love it. Beautiful. And happy birthday to Grandma.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Chris, what did we learn?
I learned a lot of stuff. I try to learn from everything. I think Dual Survivor probably taught me this whole survive and thrive lesson in a few different shows, and then a couple people and how they had attitudes that are a certain way. Surviving is it's a very cold thing. Surviving is a lot different than thriving, and so anyone can survive. Right? It doesn't take as much to survive. Thriving takes a lot of other things. And I think the one that is the lowest common denominator to what it takes to thrive is attitude. You can't thrive with a poor attitude. It's an internal cancer that causes the nature of what thriving should be for the human experience to, like, what is it? If you have a poor attitude, like, what's the point? Like, we should all be seeking to find joy, to be happy, to be thriving, to be fulfilling things that we're engaging in for other people, that are both fulfilling for who we are and how we need it. And that's a different thing for everybody. For me, COVID hit and everyone's like, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I'm like, noise goes away. And I went to a building season because I was in a super busy point, and I need to come to a rest season here soon, which thank goodness for archery elk season coming up September 8th through the 15th. I will be out of Facebook. Don't try to reach me. Anyways, but it's okay to have seasons, and most people don't understand cyclical seasons that are perfectly natural in all things. So for whatever the cause reasons are, it doesn't really matter. Hay season, whatever you want to call the season, there's a balance, right? Give and take. And there's a rhythm that you need to get into. And most people just want to get comfortable and complacent. And that's where the problem is. They're reluctant to change. So for us, the thriving portion occurred because I kind of got to put a lot of time in. We progressed really quickly on both the business fronts that I have. Vetted VA has been growing incredibly, and it's something we're stovepiping for the sake of quality, right? But we had the time to invest, and that's a hard thing to do. And sometimes you have to rob from other buckets, because in hay season, when the hay's all in the field, you got to get in the barn. I don't care if it takes 3 days. Like, don't go. It's going to rain. Like, there's a necessity point that comes in that's inherent with responsibility, I think. But we need to recognize the seasons of rest that should come after. And that's where I don't do exceptionally well. For me, elk season's the one place I can go because there's no service. So yes, right? But thriving can be a lot of different things. And I don't want anyone to watch this or anything else and like predetermine what your thriving looks like. It can be different. But for us, it was having the time to invest in all the places that we needed while we could. And now that other things are busy and everyone's slammed and things are going nuts, right? It actually kind of creates a cocoon of silence around us almost here lately. There's so much going on, don't get me wrong, but like we get to the weekends and it's just boom, I'm boxing it out hard, right? Like, nope. And there's team that we've built because we were diligent in the beginning of that, right? It was an onslaught of something that was about to there was a lot going on for everyone in the industry. That was like, we were getting hammered. That was when it was all starting. So we immediately put heads down, went to work, and put all of our work in up front. And now we're kind of into a rhythm to where what we have isn't killing us. We're thriving in it because we were able to prepare to see, and not perfectly. That never happens, y'all. We were able to fail 55 times before most people were willing to fail twice in every which way we've done things, right? And we're growing in that. So, but it's always an attitude thing, a willingness. You have to be willing to thrive. And most people get bogged down, get burdened down, and they're no longer kind of willing. So
do you think that's because they're afraid? Do you think
I think most people are probably led by their biggest fears, about me including in that statement, at different times, right? At different seasons. And I think that the goal should be, do not ever let fear come in and be the determinant or the lowest common denominator to your reasoning, because it's a liar. Fear is a liar.
It is.
It's a false projection. And for people that base their reasoning on that, what I find and what I see is their choices disappoint them greatly. And they reinforce things that they don't want to believe with their actions at that point. And that's even worse. So don't let fear lead you. Rush into a problem with a smile. And you know what I mean? Like life is about problem solving. And most people are afraid of solving a problem, even because they don't know how to do it. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they don't know how to do it. And they don't want to learn new things, like old dog, new trick, whatever you call it. But most people don't want to be a student of a thing anymore and learn. They just want the easy button, I think. I think COVID took the easy button away from a lot of people. I think it's really
that's
cool.
for sure.
How many businesses do you think were started during COVID? Small businesses.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer, but
I
bet it's a good
waiting.
number.
I was like, I wanted to hear the answer.
From what I see from social media, which I'm all over it, there's been a lot of people out of necessity start small businesses, and what they're going to learn is, with tech and some other things, they're going to have the discussion. It's like, babe, do you see this? Like, we've been here. Like, you know what I mean? It opens up opportunity. And I think that's what people need to realize. When things are the most chaotic, when things are in disarray, there's a lot of opportunity in that type of environment. You just have to be willing to not let fear guide you through those events, and instead focus on the things that are most important to you, maintain those, like how you're getting somewhere, and then collectively pick points that are a little ways out, right? Even if you can't see so far out, pick goals that you want to get to that are based around your heart, like nature, what matters to you the most, whatever it is. Because if not, you're never going to thrive. You're going to do something. Mason, my nephew, this kid. Mason, come on, dude.
That was very profound, Chris. That was beautiful. Very beautiful. All right. You guys were awesome. This was great. Absolutely loved it. And now we get to hear who's going to join me next week. All right, Deb, who do we have up?
My friend Delfino Aguilar. He is the new Senior Vice President of Wholesale at Kind Lending.
Awesome.
And a character. He's a great, great guy.
Awesome. Wonderful. I look forward to having him on. All right, Kim, who do we have?
She's president and co-founder of Symmetry Advisors. And so she's been leading the way in blockchain and mortgage. So it'll be a very different perspective for you from a technology, funding technology.
Can't wait to hear. That'll be a great perspective. All right, Chris, who do we have?
Jackie Dunlap. And I didn't even call her and ask her or tell her anything.
Listen,
either.
Chris, didn't we had this discussion?
We did, and I had every intent to follow the rules. I really did. I don't know what the punishment is here. I willfully accept it as my mistake. I will call Jackie after. I just tagged her on the video, but she has a pretty good sense of humor, and she doesn't hate me, so I think it'll work out.
Okay.
I know Jackie. She's awesome. Can't wait to have her on.
She's
and
a rock star.
Sorry, Jackie. All right, guys. Be well. Be safe. All the best. Thank you so much for sharing. And
thank you.
I can see that you're all thriving. So let's continue to thrive. Take care,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.